But what they don't understand is that I am willing to go to jail if that's what it takes for our country to win and become a democracy again.
I don't know what that has to do with it, but he doesn't mind sacrificing himself to go to jail is a massive lie. But what if it turned out to be the case? It doesn't look super likely at this point. Donald Trump has been able to make it this far in his life without suffering any of the consequences for the actions he has taken. But were he to, what would jail be like for Donald Trump? Well, a number of experts spoke to Newsweek about what that situation could look like. And as unlikely as it might be, it could get rough for him. So one of the things that they predicted was that he would be at an elevated level of risk compared to others in prison. Not specifically because people in there would hate him necessarily, but that it provides an opportunity, his presence. Were you to do something to him, then you're in the history books for the rest of time. Were you able to get to him and harm him? What they're speculating, and that would be horrendous, would be that they might make a name for themselves by attacking him. Now, others are saying that he would most likely be placed in the most minimum of security prison ever. And I get it. You don't need tall walls for a guy who's not going to be able to hop over a turnstile. But that might mean that he would be open to less risk. But a former prosecutor said, in Trump's case, there's a unique risk to his safety because he's a former president. So the BOP would have to make sure he's at a minimum security threat or facility with no threat of violent inmates, isolated from the general population, which he's willingly done his entire life. In Georgia, the Department of Corrections would have to make a similar determination. Their options include state prison, private prisons, or detention center. The reference there at the end is that, look, we have to consider multiple different possibilities because some of these are federal crimes, some of them are state level crimes, and the situations in those facilities are different, obviously. We have more details, but Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, it makes me smile to imagine him in prison. I, again, don't think it's going to happen. Again, if anything, it would be house arrest and community service, and he'll just complain about how he'd had to wear a hairnet while working at a soup kitchen for the rest of his life. But yeah, we saw what happened to Derek Chauvin recently, right? He was beaten in jail. And look, if you are, again, another inmate or someone who's there and prison is a rough place, yeah. Going after a high-level target like that, or someone, a high-level criminal, a famous criminal, that could get you some respect in jail. However, I foresee Trump, if he ever were to serve, John, don't you think he'll just be like playing cards with the prison guards and telling them how he's gonna like make prison great again, and he's and like. Or, I mean, and this is what we've always been dreaming of, like how after January 6th, all these right wingers are starting to realize, hey, prison's bad. Yeah, the food sucks. Your treatment's terrible. It's cold. It's not like you have your human rights anymore. It could probably be better. Like if only he would actually do prison reform. That might be, if we can reverse engineer real prison reform by putting Trump there, I'm for it. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think he would flourish as the king of like a prison gang.
Yeah, I mean, look, based purely off of like the TV shows that I've watched, and stuff like that, I understand that there are certain sort of, let's say, groups in prison.
Yeah, what kind?
They like certain types of tattoos. I'm just saying, those people would. There might be some ideological overlap there. He might get some protection from these people. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And I felt the same way as you about the reform with, remember when Marjorie Greene was going around saying like, they're keeping the January 6 people in solitary confinement. It is horrible that they specifically are being kept there. I'm not going to do anything about it more broadly.
They're white. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
white conservatives are and look, let me say, if Donald Trump does go to prison, I don't want anything to happen to him. I think it's horrendous that we, a rich, powerful, relatively civilized country, cannot maintain the security and safety of people who are being locked up. The fact that it is still conceivable, the amount of corruption that goes on there that he would definitely exploit, the both physical and sexual like threats to your well-being, it should be a national tragedy that is still a thing. And bear in mind that a lot of conservatives, Republican politicians don't give a damn about that because it's happening to people who don't count for anything. But were Trump to go in, they would want him to be protected, but they would not extend the sphere of that concern any farther than his body, unfortunately.
What if he becomes radicalized? He joins like the Nation of Islam. He gets woke. That'd be tight. What if that's the journey?
What if he gets?
You know what they have in prison is they have books. You know what I'm saying? And he could open one in his life. He might learn.
He might. By the way, they talk about, one of the options for protecting him is putting him in solitary confinement. But obviously, as we have talked about before and we care about, but the right doesn't, that's long-term horrendous for you. But then I thought, it's not just solitary confinement that's gonna be hard for him. Just any confinement that means that he can't do rallies, can't tweet.
Yeah.
I don't think he has any capability to deal with that.
No.
It is going to be a rough time for him, even if, and I hope he is, physically and sexually protected from anything else that's allowed to go on.
I really just don't say sexually protected. No.
Yeah,
no one's coming near him. No one's coming near that.
Hope not.
Come on now.